Australia's outback, hotter than Mars. The Australian outback, a land so vast, so rugged, and so extreme that it often feels like another planet. In fact, some scientists have even said parts of the outback can get hotter than the surface of Mars. And today we are going to explore why the outback is so harsh, what makes it unique, how people and wildlife survive out there, and why this land is such an important part of Australia's identity. Before we dive deep into the red sands, blazing sun, and endless horizons, let me quickly say, if you love discovering the weird, wonderful, and wild sides of Australia, make sure you hit that subscribe button and comment below with your own experiences of the outback. Have you ever visited? Do you live there? Or do you just dream of seeing Uluru one day? Drop your thoughts. I'd love to hear from you. All right, let's get straight into it. The outback is not a single place on the map. It's basically the remote, arid, and semi-arid heart of Australia that stretches across most of the continent. When Aussies say the outback, they mean those regions far away from the coastal cities like Sydney, Melbourne, and Perth. It's where the land is vast, the population is tiny, and the climate can be brutal. Now here's the crazy part. Temperatures in parts of the outback have been recorded at over 50 degrees Celsius. That's over 120 degrees Fahrenheit. For comparison, Mars, yes, the planet, averages around -60 degrees Celsius. But on the hottest Martian day near the equator, temperatures might reach about 20 degrees Celsius. That means standing out in the middle of Central Australia in the middle of summer can feel far more punishing than stepping onto Mars. If Elon Musk is serious about colonizing Mars, maybe he should test people's survival skills in the outback first. So why is it so hot? The outback is mostly desert and semi-desert. It sits under clear skies with little cloud cover and has vast flat landscapes that absorb and radiate heat. Add to that the Australian sun is one of the harshest in the world thanks to its position near the hole in the ozone layer, and you've got a recipe for some of the most extreme heat waves on Earth. But here's where it gets even more fascinating. Despite this heat, life thrives. From kangaroos that can hop across vast plains to dingoes that adapt to scarce water to Aboriginal communities who have lived there for tens of thousands of years, the outback is far from empty. It's a living, breathing part of the country. Let's talk about people first. Living in the outback is no walk in the park. Remote communities often rely on rainwater tanks, solar power, and long trips into town for supplies. Schools are sometimes run through radio or internet connections, known famously as the School of the Air. Hospitals? The Royal Flying Doctor Service literally lands planes in the middle of nowhere to provide medical help. So when you hear Aussies joking about distances being just up the road, remember that sometimes up the road can mean a 6-hour drive. Now, if you're wondering why anyone would live in such conditions, the answer is resilience and tradition. Indigenous Australians have called the outback home for over 60,000 years. Their knowledge of the land, survival techniques, and cultural connection to country is something truly incredible. For them, the land isn't just dirt and heat. It's a living ancestor, a spiritual guide, and a provider. But let's not forget the wildlife. The outback is home to creatures that seem designed by nature to survive extreme heat. Kangaroos rest in the shade during the hottest parts of the day, conserving energy. Camels, yes, camels, were imported into Australia in the 19th century for transport across deserts, and now tens of thousands of them roam wild. Emus, reptiles, and countless bird species adapt to water scarcity in unique ways. And then there's the creepy crawlies, snakes, spiders, and scorpions. If the heat doesn't scare you, the wildlife just might. But here's the thing, it's not all doom and gloom. The outback also has breathtaking beauty. Sunsets that paint the sky in shades of red and gold, starry nights so clear you can see the Milky Way stretching across the sky, and iconic landmarks like Uluru, Carter, Tuta, and Kings Canyon. For travelers, it's a dream destination, offering a glimpse into the raw, untouched power of nature. Now let's add a bit of humor. Imagine this. You're in the outback, it's 48 degrees Celsius, your car's air conditioning has given up, and you suddenly realize your bottle of water has turned into a cup of tea. That's how hot it can feel. Even your thongs, yes, Aussies call flip-flops thongs, might start to melt if you leave them on the ground too long. And yet, despite these challenges, Aussies are proud of the outback. It represents toughness, resilience, and the spirit of adventure. It's the kind of place that makes you appreciate the little things in life, like a cold drink, a bit of shade, or a working fan. But here's an interesting fact. The outback covers about 70% of Australia's landmass, but less than 5% of the population lives there. That means if you stand in the middle of the desert, chances you won't see another human for days. Instead, you'll see red earth, endless sky, and maybe a curious kangaroo hopping by. This emptiness is exactly what draws people in. Tourists from around the world come to experience the real Australia. They want to see the wide open spaces, camp under the stars, and feel the silence that's impossible to find in a city. Some even say the outback teaches you humility because out there you quickly realize how small humans really are compared to the power of nature. But let's also be practical. Surviving in the outback requires preparation. Travelers are always advised to carry extra water, spare fuel, and tell someone where they are going. Breakdowns are not just inconvenient, they can be life-threatening. And locals will always warn. Never underestimate the heat. The outback doesn't forgive carelessness. And while the outback is often seen as harsh and dangerous, it's also full of life lessons. It shows us how humans can adapt, how cultures can thrive in tough conditions, and how nature can be both brutal and beautiful at the same time. So next time you complain about a hot summer's day in Sydney or Melbourne, remember, somewhere in the outback it's probably 10 degrees hotter and someone is still managing to mow the lawn. That's the Aussie spirit for you. So, whether you see the outback as a furnace hotter than Mars, a land of breathtaking beauty, or a place of deep cultural heritage, one thing's for sure. It's a vital part of Australia's story. And maybe, just maybe, surviving a summer day in the outback makes you tougher than an astronaut. Before we wrap this up, don't forget to comment below. Have you ever been to the outback? Would you dare to? And make sure you subscribe to the channel for more stories about life in Australia, from the coast to the desert and everything in between. Because if you thought the outback was wild, wait until you hear about the weirdest Aussie laws that exist today.